Welcome back, folks, to another episode of Business from the Bass Boat Podcast on the Serious Angler Network, powered by X2 Power. Guys, today we've got a great show lined up. Someone in the industry has also had an incredible 2023 fishing season. Was just down at Table Rock at the Toyota Series Championship last couple weeks here. Made it back and everything to Idaho, getting the ball rolling on just our off-season shows and everything with Serious Angler. And, of course, looking forward to 2024 and everything that the fishing industry has in store there. But one thing I wanted to remind folks about, if you have not yet checked out the Rec Lending giveaway, just go to reclending.com. The giveaway, just scroll down. And if you are interested in picking up a boat or you currently have a boat that's financed, there's a lot of benefit to that giveaway, and they're not really asking for, information to go sell your information or that kind of a thing. It's to help people out. So, anyways, with all of that, something need to really just keep pushing through January here, but we are getting into the colder time of the year, especially for folks that live in the north, and Idaho hasn't been super cold yet. We've had a couple of fronts that have come through and made things a little bit chilly, but still plenty of fishing to be done. And it's kind of interesting so far that I've learned in Idaho as far as open water stays longer than I had anticipated. But anyways, without further ado, let's bring in Jody White, who is a northern native himself, and talk things with Jody White. What's going on, Jody?
Not much, man. It snowed here last night, and it's thankfully gone. But I think it was the second time it snowed this year, and I guess I need to look forward to more of that going forward.
Yeah. Wow. So it's happening. And I saw there was a storm somewhere in the Northeast last couple of days. I noticed that, or I saw something on the news, or maybe it was a little bit back, but
Yeah, I don't know about storm, but it was white in a lot of places where it's usually greenish or brownish. So
little dusting, I guess, is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, man, you are kind of, this is probably more than anything your time to fish, right? Kind of the fall time frame. Just with everything that you do, is this kind of the time where you actually get to enjoy some time on the water?
I kind of I kind of force the time on the water a lot of other times of the year.
Right.
Like, to be totally honest. But the fall is when I have probably the most time on the water. It's when I can like whip off midweek and just assume that nothing is going to happen. And it's really great because I really do like fishing in the fall. When I lived down south, it was a lot harder to fish in the fall. Well, no, it's just as easy to fish. The fish were harder to catch. But up north, like, fall is fantastic fishing. Lake Champlain, because it's so deep, stays open really late in the season.
Okay.
I fished open water in February this year, so I've now like officially caught a bass 12 months of the year on Champlain. Um,
Wow.
Not, you know, necessarily in a row, but like it's been done.
Yeah.
And this year, it seems like it's kind of a colder fall slash winter than usual, but I don't see any reason I won't be on the water like at least, well into December and hopefully January.
That's awesome, man. And that's cool to just probably follow kind of what those smallmouth do in the winter, and just kind of follow that whole process from the fall to the winter standpoint, especially if you're doing that kind of consistently every year. Um, I've noticed, I think I remember seeing a tip, and I still haven't tried it. I'm like, gosh, I need to try that because I do plenty of cold water fishing and hands get cold and everything else. But don't you do something with medical gloves under like fingerless gloves?
Oh, it works really good.
Does
I
it?
wear like so I used to wear, I still wear the latex gloves a lot
Right.
under
Right.
fingerless gloves, and I'll put like lo- lotion or Vaseline or whatever on, and then the glove, and that's actually kind
Okay.
of a bear to get it on. But once you get everything on, you're like in pretty good shape. I've recently been recommended to use, man, I literally bought some the other day. I forget what they're called, but they're some sort of, they're like the gloves auto mechanics use. They're
It's gonna do
black.
that.
They're a little bit more durable.
Yeah.
And those are apparently better because the problem is, ideally, the fishing is really good, and you're going to tear up the latex gloves pretty
Right.
quickly. But it's a really good system for keeping your hands dry and like keeping them moisturized. I have like really a lot of trouble with my fingertips like cracking and like
Yeah.
the little bits on the corner of my nails, which we're not doing, a skincare podcast here, but like it if you fish enough in the winter and cold weather and dry weather, it actually gets to be kind of annoying and kind of hurts. And so like the the multiple glove system, it works well for me. And I've never really been good at just wearing a full fingered regular glove
Yeah.
to fish in, but those, the skin tight ones, like those actually work pretty well for me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, well, that's
Um,
I feel you as far as the hands and fingers go, and that's something that I've noticed just fishing with guys across the country is, as much as it's like, oh, working hands, this and that, it's like, dude, it is your hands dry out so fast in the wind on especially out west here too, just have dry weather in general, right? But when you have that wind and consistent um, just kind of a beat down on your hands. Like it can be a pain. And then of course, when you're catching a bunch of fish, hands get scraped up and everything else and fingers. But totally, man, that's a great thing. And one thing I will say, and this isn't just a sponsor plug, but the Blackfish makes a glove that is waterproof, that is fairly skin tight. So I don't know. Most of the time, like gloves, I'm like a medium or a large. I do a medium with these ones, so they're even tighter. But they have the fingerprint deals as far as for like touching your graph,
oh,
which
for
is
your
great.
phone and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
That and they're completely waterproof and tight to your hand. And I used those during the Toyota Series Championship some. And then I'm a fan of fingerless gloves too, as far as like a wool glove, just to protect kind of your hand in general. But I haven't done the mechanic because that's you're right. Those mechanic gloves, I have some in the garage and they're awesome because they are a little bit more durable. So
Yeah, I
something
bought
to
like a package at Tractor Supply yesterday, and I'm honestly I should have used them uh, when I last fished on Sunday, and I don't really know why I didn't. But
yeah.
next time I fish, I'm gonna try them because it's something like it should be in the arsenal, and it's uh it's just something I should be better about because like my hands do get torn up.
For sure. Well, dude, so you mentioned fishing this last weekend. I think I saw you won another derby, which has just been crazy, man. You've been absolutely dominating here lately. What does what does Champlain and other local lakes to you, how late will there be tournaments in the fall? Like, are things wrapping up? Like, what do things look like right now?
I thought they were already wrapped up. And then there is a tournament that I think his name was Sean Graves was running some open tournaments on the Connecticut River over in
Okay.
New Hampshire. Uh, like the last 2 weeks or the last 3 weeks, and then there's one on Sunday. So this coming week,
Okay.
and then that's the last tournament I know about. Sometimes on Candlewood they will run some stuff sort of in the winter, which is down
Yeah.
in Connecticut, and but other than that, like honestly, like we kind of shut down in October. Like
Yeah.
there'll be usually some late season stuff at Oneida because the bite is really good there in late in the year. Um, and I fished one out there a couple of weeks ago, but like by and large, we're done until, well, I mean, realistically, there'll be some like paper tournaments and stuff like that
Yeah.
early season, but realistically, we're done until, second Saturday in June when our season's open back up and we can keep bass.
Yeah. That's just a whole nother crazy thing to me that's just so unique on the north and the northeastern part of the country as far as seasons go and not being able to fish tournaments just because it's a traditional keep situation. I mean, I see some benefits with it, but do you see that changing anytime soon, or is that just kind of the way it's going to be? Do you feel like in the future, as far as June, and that's the time frame?
Yeah, I don't really see it changing like in actuality because it works well enough. Our fish populations are by and large doing great.
Right.
I I think that it's something where, you know, there's like bass fishing isn't a big enough part of the culture up here that there's a ton of pressure on state officials to expand the tournament season and things like that. And even if
Mm.
you look at our tournament numbers, there's realistically not enough fishermen in the Northeast to expand our tournament season, right? Like we don't need, it would be nice to have more space to have tournaments, but we don't really need more tournaments.
Right.
That said, if I had like if I was making the rules, what I would do is I would have an early season, and then uh I would take a break during the spawn, and I
Okay.
might I might try to arrange the season so that there was a little bit of a spawn time event, maybe the tail end or something like that. But
Mhm.
like our fish during the spawn are so vulnerable. Especially smallmouth, they're dumb as rocks.
Right.
Largemouth are realistically super easy to catch during the spawn here too, compared to fish down south, and like compared to Florida, where you have these like constant, long, drawn out waves. Like I, I would be super happy to see early season tournaments and then a catch and release or close season, and then pick back up again. And I think that would be a blast. I think it would be really like I mean, dude, if we could have a Toyota series, not that we would run one this far north this early in the year, but if you
Yeah.
could have a Toyota series on Champlain in like April or early May, it would probably be like the best tournament of all time. It would take like 24 pounds to win. People would be getting laughed off stage with 19. It would be like unbelievable. It'd be incredible, right? Like, or, you know, you look at the weights that Ontario and Great Lakes kick out in the spring. It's like, it's over the moon. Like pre-spawn fishing up north is so amazing. And with my job, I generally speaking, I get like I will get like 1 week a year and whatever, or half a week here and half a week there. And whenever that lines up, it's like, well, Jody just got back from a tournament and he's really not working because he's got 3 days where there's not another tournament happening and the fish have to be caught. It's just a
Yeah.
demand.
It's just
2020, 2020, when we took the whole spring off, was
yeah.
like one of it was like one of the greatest fishing months of my life because
I
no one
bet.
else was out there. It stayed like 40 degrees and raining for a whole month, and the fish just stacked up respawn, and they stacked up respawn. They stacked. It was amazing.
Wow. That is so cool, man. And yeah, dude, I mean, and
Yeah.
I think that's the part that I mean, people are like, "Hey, I wanna work in the fishing industry," or whatever it may be, and I hear it too with friends of mine that work in the hunting industry. It's like you kinda devote your life into that, but you gotta realize, how much it takes away during those time frames, right? Like, if that's when it's the busy season for you, and that's when everyone else is kinda fishing too. What during that onslaught of the spring, I mean, what is your role currently, I guess, with Major League Fishing? What's your technical title? Because I followed your career for a really long time and have seen you always doing media stuff at events and those types of things. But what's your current role right now? And what does your on busy season schedule look like?
All right. So my technical title is senior manager, website editorial. I check it in the masthead. That's the only place I trust a title. Um, and like the the early season, like generally speaking, so if you look at, I guess, let's see, I'll pull up March for
Yep.
2024 because this is a pretty good example, and it's it's not like that different from what normally things are.
Okay.
So first weekend of March um, is the Invitational at West Point. Then after that, going from the 6th to the 8th, there's a Toyota Series at Clear Lake. From the 7th to the 9th, there's a Toyota Series at Kentucky Lake.
Mhm.
Then there's Red Crest, uh, which is 4 days in Alabama. Then midweek, 2 days after Red Crest, there is the Toyota Series at the Harris chain. Then there's the Classic, which I don't have to do anything for.
Yeah.
And so last year, a buddy of mine got married during it. This year, realistically, I'll be fishing somewhere during
Yeah.
it. Uh, and like I'll have some live on in the corner. Um,
Yeah.
then the next week, midweek, there's a Toyota Series at Toledo Bend. And then the week after that, at the end of the week, which now is into April, there's a Toyota Series at Smith Lake. And so like, basically every week there's a 3+ day tournament that I'll have to pay a pretty decent amount of attention to.
Mhm.
And in the case of the Invitational, I'll be at, and for the
Okay.
Toyota Series stuff, I might be at.
Just kind of depends
When we
on.
run them, yeah, when we run them concurrently, like it'd be very unlikely that I'd go to Kentucky Lake
Right.
or Clear Lake, as much as I would love to go to Clear Lake. Supposedly it's awesome now.
Especially right now.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, but anyway, I'd love to go to either one of those, but realistically, like just our whole operation is best served by me being on a computer during both of those. And
Right.
uh, you know, coverage sort of schemes and plans and stuff are always changing, but generally speaking, like I'm either at a tournament or I am, you know, getting content in from a tournament and
Okay.
putting that on the website. So it's kind of a combination. And like last year, I fished the ABA Race Scott,
Hmm.
the championship that was down in Louisiana on the Red River.
Yeah.
And I like was not there that week. Like I was
Right.
like, I'm fishing this, I'm not in the office. And that was during the college fishing national championship
Okay.
at Toho. And so other folks picked up the slack. It went well, but also like that was pretty unusual for me not to be the person editing that or taking those photos or something along those lines.
Right.
And that's kind of just typical. Like I pretty much am going to be at all the invitationals. I'm going to be at all the northern events because I live in Vermont and it's super cost effective. And I know most of the guys to be at a Northeast
Totally.
event. And then I will fill in where I need to and then also be on the laptop for a lot of stuff.
Sure. Sure. No, so that makes a lot of sense. So I mean, and that's the thing is like I've seen your name as a part of FLW, Major League Fishing media is like synonymous with that, right? Like, and I think that has been well known by a lot of people is articles you see by Jody White, you see all these photos, and then the podcast too, man. Like I've listened to you interviewing anglers way before I thought about having a podcast and everything we've done as serious anglers. Like this was, I still listen to almost every single one of your angler interviews. And I think you do a really good job of digging out details from guys, that maybe other people
Appreciate
don't,
that.
like I think that, and you can kind of tell if someone's trying to be hiding things, but, no, I think you do a great job. And I think it shows through because you do fish tournaments and you love fishing and everything about it. You can ask questions where it's like pretty pertinent and you get to see you're on top of everything, right? That is happening now with technology, with how the best in the world are doing it. And so no, it's been cool to watch that. And I really enjoyed the interview you did with Kyle Grover with the US Open and everything else there. Because that's, I
Yeah.
mean,
The audio quality was rough for that though. He had like his phone on speakerphone while he was like driving into the
right.
office or something like that. But yeah, that was a blast. I love Kyle and I
Yeah.
have never been to Mojave. I know nothing about it.
Place is sweet,
Um,
dude.
except for talking with Josh Bertrand last year and then David Valdivia some and then
Hmm.
Kyle about it. And it sounds amazing. I desperately want to go.
Yeah.
Although
Well,
it sounds like the fish are way smarter this year than they were last year, which I don't know. I kind of like my fish dumb, honestly.
right. Well, I think something that's synonymous to like, well, something I've always thought through as a guy that's kind of out west, kind of in the middle of nowhere in the fishing world is it's like I have a hard time and I'd be curious your thoughts on this too, especially because you did live kind of in the southeast or the south central part of the country for a little while. But like it, I love like the places to me that I could see Kenzie and myself moving to are like a Vermont on Champlain, somewhere in the Northeast, or I like the West a lot. I like the Northwest a lot. Um, and that's because generally speaking, like, dude, the fishing is phenomenal. Like it is so good. And I feel like every time that I've gotten my teeth kicked in going to the South, like somewhere is like the fishing is freaking tough. Like there's, you go to this place like a
Yeah.
Rayburn, and I've had great days on Rayburn. Don't get me wrong. But like a lot of the time when I go there, like it is a grind to figure stuff out. And um, I don't know. That's just something just from and maybe that's just anecdotally, but I feel like there is something to be said about how special the Northeast and then the West part of the country are fishing wise.
Dude, I think it's totally true. Like, granted, I'm better fishing at fishing now than I was 5 or 10 years ago. And
Mhm.
even then though, I would always really cherish coming home because even though I was home in like dead of the summer, which is our
Yeah.
slow season, the fishing was it was still so good. Like it was
Right.
refreshing. I'm like, it's not 1,000 degrees. I don't do heat well.
Right.
It's not
Same.
it's like nice and they're biting and I can do 5 different things and it's great. And like you look at I mean, gosh, you look at these like any Sam Rayburn tournament, right?
Yeah.
This I'll pull up the one Dakota won this winter. Like it's really and part of this is because Todd Castledine hates the winter time on Sam Rayburn.
Right.
Um, man, I wonder why it got really dark all of a sudden. Did my camera get
Yeah.
super dark for you?
Yeah. Your computer, like it's like your screen maybe like your screen. That's crazy. I was like, do you have
I
automatic
have
lights in there, Jody? What's going on?
I didn't change anything.
It's crazy.
um,
Anyways, I
anyway,
can still see you all right. But
yeah. So uh this tournament, like granted, it was only 2 days, but
okay.
eighth place was 30 pounds. That's like a 15-pound average. There is no possible 2 day tournament on Champlain right now where where fit 30 pounds gets you anything, right?
Right. Right.
And and Cole Moore, he had 30 pounds, 14 ounces, and he took home $6,300. And like, it's just, it can be really tough in the South. Even in
Yeah.
Florida, like, you can have like a 20-pound day and a 10-pound day and come out of it looking pretty good.
Right.
And if you had a 20-pound day and a 10-pound day anywhere up north, it's like, well, cool, thanks for showing up. But 10 pounds is like not doing it, buddy.
Right.
So it's one of those things where I don't know. It's weird, and I love that the fishing is so good up here. And now that I live up here and I'm back full time, I do have a hard time seeing myself ever live somewhere else because I like how the fishing is easy. I like how it's good, and I mean honestly, East Tennessee is beautiful. There's some really cool ways to catch fish there. There
Yeah.
are also a lot of times when the fishing is not that good.
Right.
Uh, or when there's like one or two lakes where the fishing is good. And,
Mhm.
probably 80% of the lakes, the fishing is really tough. Like right now, like Gunnersville is kind of popping off.
Yeah.
But if you look at Chickamauga, like the weights are terrible.
Right.
And Pickwick, like 3 people catch them, and everyone else is like stumbling around, like hoping they get a bite.
Right.
If you're one of those 3 people, that's great. But up north, even when you're clueless, you still are catching them. So it's
That needs to be
I don't know, it's tough to not it's tough to look other places and like I know I'm much better at fishing up north than I am at down south, which is just a nice thing from a competition standpoint and that sort of thing.
totally. Well, and that's like I mean, I think that that's something that's been cool to watch too is like you've spent a lot of time fishing, being around high level guys, covering it. You've spent a lot of time in the back of the boat too, man. As far as a co-angler goes, and that's something that I've done a lot of, and I continue. Like, if it's a place I kind of want to go see, and I can fly there, and with Southwest Airlines, you can not pay any extra fees for shipping rods and tackle. So
Oh, sounds
it
dope.
Yeah, that I did and I need to probably re-bump this stuff out, but a couple years ago I did an explanation on that. But like, as far as if anyone is trying to be a co-angler, and not have to drive somewhere, there are ways to do it pretty effectively through airlines that I was impressed with. But Southwest is the one for sure. Anything that's deemed fishing equipment, you can have two. You can have one checked bag, one carry on, and then fishing equipment is not included in that. So you can stick a rod tube with 5 rods in it, then have your tackle bag and then a carry on, and you're good to go.
Maybe the US Open is becoming more attainable.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Speaking of the US Open, man, like as far as I think the difference in the lakes out west, and not all of them, but I've certainly seen it here in Idaho and in Washington, and then into California. See, it seems like the smallmouth lakes anyway, minus the Columbia River and Coeur d'Alene has got a lot of fish in it. But like a lot of these places, especially like those desert lakes, like there's just such a low population of fish. Like there's nice fish in there, right? There's 4 pound smallmouth. There's some quality fish, but like there's just a per fish per acre or whatever you want to say. Like the Northeast, it just blows everything out of the water in my eyes. Like anything we have out here to up there, it's like you guys just have the density of fish is just crazy.
Yeah. And I don't know where you fit up here. It's like the Great Lakes, and like if you've been out on Erie or something like that, or Ontario or the St. Lawrence, like
Mhm.
they're a little bit exceptions to the rule. Like they're like kind of just this, they're a wonderland. They're not really real.
Right.
At the same time, like even our kind of tougher lakes still do have a lot of fish in them. They may not have as big a fish, or it may be a lake that has a decent number of big fish, but not killer numbers. But generally,
Mhm.
that's a small lake. Like pretty much all our big lakes have actually a lot of fish in them, which is great because those are our tournament lakes.
Right. Right. No, yeah. I've just been on, let's see, 2 years ago, I flew up and fished an open as a co-angler on the St. Lawrence and went out to
Oh,
the big
I
lake
fished that
too.
one.
Yeah. Yeah, that one. And then
Did you catch them?
let's see. There I struggled day one. Had a guy that was super nice guy, but was not drifting. He was trying to not drift and basically have himself positioned. He wasn't drifting at all, which that's what like day two, we were just drifting in the river and it was awesome because as a co-angler, you're kind of getting the first shot at everything. Um,
Oh, yeah. The drifting is like beautiful for a co-angler and horrible for a boater sometimes.
right, right.
Yeah.
So that's so I had a good day one day and I struggled the second day. But there and then I fished a
Cool.
Toyota in Champlain um, as well as a co. I think that same year. But I drew Spencer Sheffield,
Nice.
which was awesome to see, and he was super awesome in the boat as far as explaining what things were going on. And this was kind of it was still LiveScope was just starting to hit the scene more and more mainstream, I guess. So it was cool to see
Okay.
it like down.
It's very cool.
But dude, I mean, we're talking on a local level, you have absolutely dominated, but then you also won an open this year. And that is just incredible to see. And my number one question before even going into how that's been for you is it frustrating not being able to fish the same tournaments that you cover or at least the same, to some capacity?
Uh, Sometimes. Like I
Okay.
was out at Table Rock and I was like, man, I might be able to do okay in this tournament
Totally,
because
dude. Like
it was a
that's your
pretty good
stuff.
live scope derby.
Right.
I was like, I might have been able to come away with a check there.
Yeah.
Uh, but like some of it is and some of it isn't. I down south, like I work those tournaments, and generally speaking, I know that I'm following people who are much better at fishing than me and put a lot more into it, and it just does not. It doesn't look as fun. And honestly, when I look at drive times and things like that, I think to myself, "Ah, well, I probably didn't want it bad enough."
Yeah.
Um, but when I look at the Toyota Series Northern Division schedule, I'm like, man,
Especially this
that
next
would be the
year.
dream.
Right.
So it's one of those things where it would be great to. I would like if I got fired, the first thing I would do uh, is sign up for the Northern Division. Probably, like I would be. I'd be like, yes, let's go, because they look like a blast, and I know a bunch of the people who fish them, and it would be possibly a little annoying because like I know some places where some guys like to fish, and so
Right.
there's a line to walk there,
Sure.
which you don't want to. One, it's nice that I can't fish our stuff because I don't want to fish our stuff and get in the way of like
Get
I
called
don't
out
want to
for
fish stuff that I know because of my job, right?
sure.
And like I have like chunks of Lake Champlain where I like just don't even come off playing. So I'm like, this is Steve Estes. That's not
Right.
me.
Right.
So I put like a premium on trying to find my own stuff and whatnot, or finding publicly available stuff, right?
Yeah.
Uh, and so it might be tricky, like if I actually could fish those tournaments. So it's probably good that I don't even have to worry about it. But honestly, like other than the Northeast stuff, which I would love to fish because I love fishing those lakes,
Yeah.
it's not that bad of a temptation.
Yeah. Yeah. No, well,
It
I
was
think
in the beginning, but
right. Right. And I think that's kind of I don't know. And this is just my mindset on things and it's very similar to that is like I think I've realized like I've seen enough of this where these guys are putting so much into this from a road time, time away from everything else. And it's like you kind of got to decide what you want. And my mindset has shifted from like really trying to pursue things at a high level to being like, maybe I'm okay with fishing at a quote unquote professional level or what I consider AAA level, whether that be the Toyota series out west with all the things that, or kind of that Northeast, but being in a region to where I feel like there's still a lot of opportunity from a kind of a side income standpoint. Like, I mean, you win a Toyota series up north or an open, like there's some serious money there, especially if it's not just your full-time thing. And so that's I guess I'm agreeing from that standpoint, whether my opinion's uh asked there or not. But it's kind of the same way I've viewed things here lately and agree with the standpoint of I want to be and maybe this is just being like, well, that's weak. You're not fishing tough tournaments or whatever else. But like it's fun to go fishing at places where like the fishing's good, right? Like even if I had a terrible day, I
yeah,
caught 20 fish today. Like
yeah, I highly recommend fishing places where the fishing is good. I like even the Connecticut River that I've fished, I believe 4 days of my life. One of them was like probably 15 years ago.
mhm,
Uh, but there are a ton of fish there. They're not all big. Like a 3 pounder. I haven't caught a 4 pounder yet. The biggest fish I've caught was like a 360.
yeah,
Uh, but it's loaded with fish,
loaded with them.
which is a blast. Um, and yeah, I really like fishing regionally. And I fish what I can. Obviously, if I wasn't doing what I was doing, I'd probably fish more stuff regionally.
Mhm,
Um, but like, there's I personally like. Obviously, I have a fascination with anyone who is catching them. Right?
yeah,
Like, I don't wherever they are. I think it's awesome. Um, like I love to watch the hot hand. I love to
mm,
watch people who are at the top of their game. I also like love regional anglers. Like there's, Castledine is like absolutely kills it in Texas every year,
right.
right? Uh one of the honestly like one of the best days of my life was watching Bradley Hallman on the final day at Grand Lake when he won a Toyota there. And he's
Yeah,
blasting them on a spook in the rain on a top water. It's amazing.
yeah,
And like I love the Toyota series. I love that AAA level. And so I can derive a lot of satisfaction from fishing, you know, AAA or fishing just regional stuff, just because it's it's a really cool sort of ballpark of fishing. And it's not the the top stage, but that doesn't not everyone is gonna set their life up to do that. Not everyone wants that bad enough. And honestly, like, I mean, I have a tremendous amount of respect for the people that do it, but
Mhm.
it's like definitely not for everyone. And
Yeah.
also, like, there's a really good chance that most people who try it just aren't good enough for it anyway. But
Right.
you can have a niche somewhere else and catch a lot of fish and have a lot of fun.
Dude, totally. I think that was put very well. Um, and I totally agree with it. I mean, I did a show a while back with Castledine just talking about fishing regionally versus nationally and, his decision there. And clearly it's worked out for him. Like he is an incredible angler in that region. And then, I mean, you look at guys too out west, like a Kyle Grover or a David Valdivia, like both fantastic guys that just are phenomenal on their region. And it's fun to watch that. And I'm sure too, on your side of things, looking at stats with like BFLs and Toyota series, like there's gotta be that in every sub market of fishing, right? Like there's always those couple of people who are just standout hammers in an area. And it's cool that you get a lot of satisfaction out of covering those guys because it's cool to bring that to a national scale too, with the Toyota Series Championship and just the coverage from Major League Fishing.
Oh yeah. Like, so if you think about Texas, one of the probably one of something that will never be done again, probably, and was, I think, one of like the top, it's got to be a top 10 fishing achievement.
Okay.
And you got to know where I'm going with this,
I
is
think
Ray
so.
Hanselman
Right.
literally sweeping the Southwestern Division and then winning the championship in
That was
2015.
unbelievable.
It was the coolest thing of all time. The fact that he won the championship too was like mind blowing. And then in 2019, we go back to his home pond at Amistad and he wins that too, just to be like, yeah, I still got it. This wasn't a fluke. And it's like breaks my heart that he's not just crushing on the Elite Series, because
No.
that year was like the coolest thing of all time. And then, like, up here locally, you've got Brian LaBelle, who, like,
Yeah.
I mean, so Alec Morrison is like catching the crap out of fish
Right.
everywhere now and
Great
on
dude too.
Champlain.
Yeah.
And I love the guy. But like, and Brett Cartwright won the Toyota this year, but LaBelle has a Bass Open win on Champlain and a Toyota Series win on Champlain. He is like our, I mean, he is like the Champlain god. And at some point, almost all of the bass fishing in the Northeast, like, it runs through Champlain. It's historically was the hotbed, and even though the St. Lawrence River is like the place to be now,
Mhm.
it's still like a mandatory stop, and
Right.
there's just a lot of history there. There's a lot of cool stuff there, and like LaBelle is like a god. I mean, the guy is he's not really grumpy. He's just like kind of quiet sometimes, and he's fascinating and like an amazing fisherman. And I'm glad I get to work with him, right? And then, you know, Adam Wagner is like a superstar in Tennessee.
Mhm.
He crushes on Dale Hollow. He, well, especially Dale Hollow, but like all over that sort of like middle Tennessee area. Like, you get him on the Tennessee River, he might not do that great, but you put him on like a mountain reservoir and he's probably going to beat somebody's brains in. It's
Right.
amazing. And I love all those different little like niches all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that is something that has always interested me, and this isn't a knock on anyone, but, like, you see guys from a region that dominate, and not just, like, a little bit, like, fully dominate a region, and then they hit that national scale, and it's like you said, like a Ray Hansman just breaks your heart a little bit, and you're like, "Man, this guy," like you see that with some Western guys, and I also think that has changed some, just with technology as well as, um, the ability to gather information, like anyone gathering information. Like, I feel like kind of the Western game anyway was like finesse and just some goofy things out west that were different, and now all that information just goes everywhere immediately. But it is interesting to see that happen, and it sucks because you want to see this person who you followed through their career just kill it, and then it's like, dang it, and then there'll be shines of that, or like maybe if then someone in that Champlain region, like you're going to see them compete be in the top 10 or close to it when they go back up north, or something like that at that top tier level. But it's an interesting point you bring up, because I've thought about that a lot. Is like, these guys are so good, and it's just like there's just shows me that there's just another level, out there once you kind of hit that top tier.
Oh yeah, it's the fact that like so many really excellent regional anglers like frequently do not carry that level of success nationally. It's just like more proof that the guys who really are really, really good nationally are
Mhm.
like truly special. You know, the
Super.
Brian Thrifts, Jacob Wheelers, like they're essentially Supermen. Like
Mhm.
the fact that they can win a tournament in literally any state and it's not a surprise is, or notable even, is like what makes that top level angler really special. And it's like, it's
How it
honestly why
should be.
probably it's how it should be, and it's why, like, it's one of the reasons, like, I'm pretty at peace with, like, not pursuing fishing more than I have because I've been able to work with and be around a lot of guys who are just, like, so incredibly good at bass fishing. Like, I can just I can watch somebody fish, and a lot of times I'm like, this is, like, not the ticket right here,
Yeah.
and then you pull up on, you never pull up on Brian Thrift, you never pull up on Matt Becker, you never pull up on Jacob Wheeler and watch those guys fish and think, oh, they don't know what's going on. Like every single time you pull up
Mm,
on those guys and you're like, oh, he's about to catch a 3-pounder somehow.
yeah.
So it's just one of those scenarios where like the truly the top guys in the sport are at a level that I think most of us are just never getting to.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and like that's the thing is I think that with all the drama kind of in the fishing industry in general, something to always remember is like it's no different than another professional sport, or anything else in my mind, where like the top 1% of the 1%, however many decibel places you want to go down, like that's why they're there. Like that's the top level guys. And even if it's a difference in fishing where it's like that top tier guy is making X times the amount of money as someone lower down, well, that same thing happens in the NFL or anything else. It's just a different scale. It's like the bottom guy is still making a good, great living versus that top guy's making an exceptional way above that what that bottom guy is. It's just different because in the fishing world, there's just not that much of a return, right? And so it's interesting to me when people kind of bring that stuff up, because it's like it's how it should be in my eyes. Is like there's only enough, those top tier guys are there for a reason, and that's just the way life is, right? Not everyone can be is the top gifted, and or wants it bad enough too. To your point there.
Yeah. And like the wants it bad enough thing is like is real. Like I'm not I just because of how many young guys there are who who catch them well enough to get into that level, right?
Mhm, mhm.
And to like actually make a career out of it. Generally speaking, because they dedicated like a vast amount of their life to it, right? Or a
Right.
percentage of their life, so to speak, right? And because they are going dark to dark all the time. And, it seems like there's like a certain level of passion for fishing that can overcome, um, like it can overcome experience. It can overcome a lack of experience. It can like constantly push an angler to that next
Mhm.
level. So, when I say earlier, like the guys who are at that top level are, Superman, it, it is extremely, extremely, extremely hard to do that. And there are some people who are maybe born with it a little bit more than others. Like
Right.
I would bet that Jacob Wheeler would still be super incredible, even if he didn't also try really hard.
Right.
Um, I've heard plenty of stories about how naturally talented Jordan Lee is, right? And the guy's won 2 classics. Um, at the same time, like there are plenty of people who like just work super hard and continually get a little bit better, a little bit
Totally.
better, a little bit better. But it, I think that level of like working super hard is a level that some people like literally like don't get to, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Or think that they're working super hard when they're actually not working super hard enough, if that makes
Right. Well, I think, and I think that's exactly it, is like working extremely hard. It does, like, you've seen it multiple times in athletics and everything else, of like, you can win from a long-term slow growth of working extremely hard. But like in the fishing world, in today's world, in my eyes, that means you have to give up everything or a lot of things to get there. And so, as much as, yeah, like you're saying, like, you can say you work really hard and you spend a lot of time on the water, but at the end of the day, it's like everyone at that top tier is doing that, or they've done it at some point to get to where they are. So I totally agree with that sentiment. I think it makes a lot of sense and reigns true, man. It really does.
yeah, I think that's well put.
Well, Jody, so I mean, I'm calling it kind of a breakout year. You've been a great angler. You've had a lot of success throughout the years. You've struggled before. You've had, fished a lot as a co. Like, what can you attribute to like 2023, man? Like, just an incredible season. I don't have stats in front of me, but I was looking at them earlier this morning, and you have just won so much local stuff, and then you also won the Open. What do you feel like kind of happened right for you in 2023?
I think so. I think some of it was good breaks, and some of it was sort of a culmination of, maybe not culmination, but a continuation of me fishing well.
Okay.
In So last year, I won AOI in my ABA division. Right,
Yep.
won a tournament at the St. Lawrence, made the Ray Scott, had a really good year, and then this year, like I went down and I pre-practiced on the Red River, which really wasn't that fun. Um,
Yes.
and then went and practiced on the Red River and fished a tournament. And the first day of the tournament, I was literally wearing insulated rain gear on the Red River in like March. It was the worst. It was horrible. It would have been actually, they were biting good in practice. It would have been a fun tournament if the weather hadn't just absolutely gone down the drain. But anyway, so I finished sixth in that. It's like, it, I had like done against a pretty good field. I had done really good down south. I was like thrilled. It's great. So
Yeah.
I came into the year fishing good, and I'm not really. I'm not. I say I'm not a momentum guy. At the same time, like I definitely believe that like things can be going well, and it can make it easier to keep doing going well. Right. Like
Right. Right.
I'm not looking at a guy and being like, well, he just had two bad finishes. His next one's also going to be bad. But
Mhm.
I think generally speaking, like if things are going good, it's a little bit easier to keep them going good.
Fair statement.
And then this year, back home, got I got lucky a little bit at the St. Lawrence. Like there were a lot of fish on a place where I found them the year before,
Wow.
and that's beautiful. Um, and then so I won an ABA, and then I won the Open, fished the same spot the whole time. Uh, the like 2 weeks later, I won an ABA at Oneida, and I was doing completely different stuff. I'm drifting and live scoping up at the river at Oneida. I'm throwing a football jig at rock piles and a top water up shallow. And
Wow.
at Oneida, I could have come in with 19 or 20 pounds, but I caught a 470, which is like a giant smallmouth in the summertime at Oneida.
Right.
Um, and it could have been a 4.25 or a 4, but it was a 470. The thing looked like Shamu when it came out of the water, and I won the tournament instead of finishing, second, third, fourth. Like it just that one fish, like I had a good day without that fish. Like I was
Yeah.
definitely going to get paid. It was going to be great. But I caught that fish. And then at Champlain in the next ABA,
Mhm.
I caught like a 460, like probably 5 minutes into the morning of
Wow.
it, which is a huge fish on Champlain. And then I kind of struggled for a while. I wasted like 2 hours running docks and rocks and like when I should have been scoping. And
Uh-huh.
then I think I culled 4 times in like the last half hour and ran back in. And, you know, I went from, 18 pounds to 20 or whatever and like finished third. And it worked
Wow.
out great. And then I won another ABA at Champlain. And that one, it was the day after it'd been super windy. And
Okay.
so tie was all blown out. People hadn't been able to practice their stuff up north. It was windy on the run up north that day. We launched out of tie. And so a lot
Okay.
of people ran to the inland sea. And I ran mid lake and I had like more fishing time and it was calm for me the whole time while other people like ran halfway and then had to beat their way another 10 miles to get to where they wanted to go. And I
Mhm.
had like 19 and change, and 19 and change usually isn't enough to win on Champlain, but it was that day because the
Okay.
guy who finished second like lost a good one and the conditions were, really contrary, right?
Tougher. Yeah.
So like I'm not saying it was all luck, but like I feel like I can recognize pretty well that like some things worked out in my favor this year. At the same time, I still was fishing really good. I love fishing up north, I've been living here long enough now that I'm sort of like constantly building on
Mm.
past history, on like current techniques. Just it's allowed me to get really comfortable fishing up here. Um, and then another thing, which it's really come into play, especially on Oneida, uh, is a buddy of mine from high school, Billy Gilbert. Like he and I mesh really well. We don't end up fishing against each other a lot, which is nice, but we get
Yeah.
to share a lot of information. And
Okay.
we get to fish a lot of different places across the state. And, Billy and I have like definitely we've set each other up for success a few
Mm.
times, which is really good to see.
That's huge.
And it's really great when you have someone who you can totally trust and
Yeah.
totally like we can talk down to a 2-aught hook and 12-pound test or down to the waypoint. Like I've sent him so many GPX files and he's
Yeah.
sent them back to me. Like we have
Truly partnership.
yeah, we have a level of trust and information sharing that I don't think is super common.
Mm.
Um and it's definitely I think helped both of us on the water. I think he would say that. I know it's helped me. Um and that's been like a bonus too. Um and I guess so it's having good partners, it's understanding the fisheries and like continuing to learn. And I am pretty proficient at forward facing sonar. Like I'm good at
Yeah.
that. That's a super hot thing right now. Like that's a good thing to be good at right now. Um, and so all of that combined with a little bit of luck makes it look like an unbelievable season. When in reality, it was a really good season. But I know I got a little bit lucky.
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with that's part of it, right? It's like you said, those big bites. Like I think that's where it's like I set myself up to have a top 10, but the tide turns when you catch a 4.7, right? And it's like, holy
Yeah,
crap, this might be my time, or with how those things work. So I think it's worth noting with all of that, but it's also like there's obviously a level of skill that's involved with all of this and building, and that time I think is good for people to understand of that process. It's like it's like that, you know, all of a sudden it looks great, like you're saying, but this has been years of compiling and building slowly. And then the kind of the storm hits perfectly, like you're saying, you're good at scope and scope's playing right now and everything. And so,
you know,
yeah, I like it, man. I think that's a good wise words.
yeah, and I mean it was a ton of fun. This year I got to travel with Brett Carnwright and JP Pelletier, who didn't fish all the stuff, but Brett fished a bunch of it, and then I traveled with Gino, whose last name I'm not even going to try to say. I have it spelled like 3 different ways on my phone. But
Yeah.
Like I had some really good travel partners. We usually, like when we would go to an ABA or we'd go somewhere, we would, usually we would practice for, I'm getting more comfortable with practicing just one day, but I really always try to practice 2 days.
Yeah.
Which is one thing where, like, because most of our tournaments are in the summer, it's a little bit of our slow season. Like, I can get away with that. There's some other people fishing locally who don't practice or practice one day. And
Right.
the fact that I can put that time in and sort of dedicate myself a little bit to it really does help.
Sure.
3 days on the Great Lakes, because you got to build in a blow day. There's going to be a day on the Great Lakes where you're not going to get anything done. It just happens.
Yeah.
So like it's one of those things where like it just made it a really fun year. I had good friends to travel with. We all caught fish pretty well. And like Gino and I have also been running around to other team tournaments and stuff like that here in the fall, which has been great.
Yeah. Heck yeah. Well, what does it look like for you in 2024 then? Obviously, bummer probably in your head with the Opens going to the Midwest as their northern swing at this point. But what do things look like for 2024 for you?
First of all, the Open schedule Midwest is too far away, but looks super dope.
Right. I'm excited to see the coverage with that. I really am.
Dude, if I lived in Michigan or Minnesota, I would be so hyped because they really don't get enough tournaments. No. And we get a ton of tournaments in the Northeast. Like,
right.
I'm not mad at them taking a year off from the Northeast. And honestly, it's not even really taking a year off because there's a Bass Nation event on Champlain in the summer.
Right.
That said, next year, my schedule looks horrible.
Oh, no.
Because, like, the ABA stuff, which I normally fish, which is American Bass Anglers, if folks aren't dialed in on it, like, it's a lot of fun. It's sort of like a BFL light. It's that kind of single. It's like not quite AAA level, but generally speaking, like every event will have a half dozen like really good locals in it,
right?
And then a bunch of like specific to that lake, right? Like Casey Smith fished our night event this summer. Brian LaBelle, Brett Carnwright fished the Champlain one. Jesse Spilisi fished the St. Lawrence one. Like there's almost always someone who's like super awesome at that fishery who's in that tournament.
Yeah.
And the ABA schedule just does not line out well with like my work schedule.
Sure.
The ABA at Cayuga is the same day as day one of the Invitational at Champlain.
Oh, shoot.
There's an ABA at the Thousand Islands in July, which is the same day as the last day of the Toyota at Champlain. There's an ABA at the Thousand Islands at the end of July, which is days 1 and 2 of the Invitational at the Detroit River. Like, it is just a year where, like, and you're going to get this every once in a while, where, like, just the schedule hates me. There's an ABA at Plattsburgh. The Toyota Series at the St. Lawrence is the same day.
Oh, dang.
It's just not a fun year for me from a how things are going to work out standpoint. And so really, I don't know. Like, I honestly might, there's a team trail called that Reynolds Marine runs. And I like legitimately, I need to look into where that is going to be next year. And like, because maybe that's going to be the route. Maybe it's just hopping in, an ABA here and ABA there. Like, I think there's like at least 3 of them that I can fish, which won't even qualify me for like the 2-day, but like I should probably fish them just to show up and say hi to people. Yeah. So I don't know. It's going to be a really weird year. 2020, I had everything lined out where I was going to be able to fish a full division. Wow. And then 2020 happened. We changed all our tournaments from being in the spring to being in the summer and the fall. All of a sudden I couldn't fish any of them. Man. And so it looks like maybe every 4 years I can just count on
something.
the schedule's just being a disaster for me
Right.
personally. And they'd be fine for like 99% of other people, but I've got these big chunks of fishing that I have to watch for work, which is great. But I got to be there or around them. And so I think that that's going to really take a bite out of my personal fishing next summer.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And
So
so
we'll see.
did you now the 2024 ABA championship, or which you would have qualified through 2023, is that happening for you? Are you able to? No. Oh,
So I actually could fish it if they call down enough, but I couldn't fish the first event of the season because
I
I was at an invitational at the Potomac while they were at Cayuga.
okay.
And I did the math. If I had got last place points in that tournament, I would have won AOI, which was like it's a little disappointing because that would have been super cool. And AOI, you get entry fees paid for the next year.
Dude,
So like,
that's the same
that's
with
great.
our ABAs out west. Same, and my team partner. I made the move to Idaho this summer, and my team partner in Colorado. We had kind of done like I hopped into some tournaments alone. He hopped into some alone to be able to qualify for the championship, and we did that this year. And we missed one tournament. They did a wraparound in Colorado to where it would be like 2023s would start in December of 2022. And it was like December 20th or something. It was right before Christmas. We decided not to fish it, and a horrible mistake because same deals. We would have won AOI, no problem, if we would have just fished that one. And it would have been entry fees for the whole next year, qualified for the championships, everything. So I feel you there. That's unfortunate.
And it's just life, right? It's not anything that I can do anything about it. And like the other guys who were in the hunt for AOI and whatnot, they had really good seasons too. But obviously, sorry about the dogs, but obviously I had like a bonkers good year. And it would have been great to be able to like actually be there for the whole thing. I ended up like 20th or something in the points. Like, I don't think they'll call down far enough.
Yeah.
But if they do, the championship is on Chickamauga. It's in like the end of April or something like that.
Interesting.
Or maybe beginning of April. But like literally, it's actually on like a free week. Like, I could fish it. So if they call down, I mean, I'm saying yes.
Yeah. Heck yeah. Well, you never know, man. People back out of stuff all the time. So hopefully that works out for you. Well, Jody, we haven't had you on Business from the Bass Boat segment at all yet. What are to kind of wrap things up here? 3 biggest smallmouth, largemouth, spotted bass, where you were when you caught them and what you caught them
on? Let's see. So the biggest largemouth I caught on Lake Panisofsky in Florida, and it was like low 10. And I caught it on a 4-inch General on a bed.
No way.
It was dope. Yeah.
That's really cool.
I'm like rolling along the bank, and do you want me to try to chill the dogs out, or is it not too bad for you?
Either way, man. I'm not worried about it. It's not too bad. I don't hear too much, I guess.
All right. Anyway, I'm like rolling along the bank, and I look down, and I was like, oh my God, I just went over a whale. And so I like turn around and like get myself set up, and I fire into the bed from like a pretty long distance, and this fish bites. And I was like, oh my God, this is her. And I set the hook. It's like a 4-pound male. Like 3 casts later, fire into the bed, long way away, 10-pounder. I almost died.
Holy cow. So you stayed way off of that fish. And
like I cast to like sort of where I could see where it was, like where I knew where it was. Like I wasn't sight fishing like up close. It was
right.
Like I stayed a ways back, and that was when I didn't have like power poles or, Raptors, like any kind of anchor.
Yeah.
So it was one of those deals where like, let me work on these dogs. Sorry.
All right, man. All right.
Give me a quick time.
You're all good. I got similar to what Jody's saying. I looked at one this year on the Delta that was a freaking whale. And it was in that 10-pound. I don't know how big it was, but it was big. And she was so sneaky. And I couldn't get her to do anything. But I've definitely done what he's done as far as making a long cast back and catching a fish on a bed that you go over, and you're like, "Oh, crap, I messed that one up." But we'll see what he has to say about it. We got dog problems.
All right, you gotta go.
Nothing like I was just talking about. You're all good, man. Well, just with what you're saying, I saw one this year on the Delta, same way as far as like a freaking 10 plus that I rolled over and was like, that's a bass, and that is a giant bass. But anyways, so you fire back in and you catch the big one.
Fire back in, I catch it. It like starts to sort of go off into some grass, and I try to chase it on my trolling motor a little bit. But my trolling motor is like on 3 to be stealthy, and I forgot to turn it up to like actually maneuver the boat. And so I'm like just like slowly. It's kind of a miracle. Then the hook came out when I got it in the net.
Wow,
like, it was amazing. I don't really know what my biggest spotted bass is. It's like 4 something. I caught it at Smith Lake, for sure. It's great. I won a Bass Open as a co-angler there. I would have caught it that week, either in practice or in the tournament.
Wow.
And so it would have been either on a shaky head or like a 2.8 Kitech.
Nice. Sounds real spot-like.
Yeah. Really, really spotty. I really need to go to like Lanier or somewhere and get like a 5. Like,
dude, there's some
I want to catch like
a big coming out of there.
Oh, and I fished Bullard's Bar once.
No way.
Yeah, which is like part of my job. Like, I was gonna go out and fish with Cody Meyer, and he got sick, but we still went. And so it's me and Jason Johnson, driving Cody's boat and truck up to the mountain in the snow. Like, it snowed and sleeted the whole time we were at this lake that day. And I mean, I know I had a really big one come up and look, because it was like, we're watching it on 2D. This is when all we have is 2D. And like, we're dropping these Senkos down, and you just see like the biggest blob ever. It's not even a blob, it's a line, right?
Yeah.
It's just this big, thick line sliding up and then sliding back down.
Oh.
So I might have had a really, really big spotted bass look at my bait once.
Yeah, I'm sure you did.
And then as far as the smallmouth, like, I haven't caught a 7 yet, but I caught like a bunch of 6-pounders. And I think my biggest is like a 6. I think I caught either a 612 or a 611. Like, I've got 2 that are basically like sort of 6 3/4, I think.
Okay.
One of them I caught on Lake Ontario, and one of them I caught on a small lake here in Vermont. And I caught another like pretty high 6 actually on the St. Lawrence. And one I caught on an A-rig, one I caught on a Demiki, and one I caught on that core tackle, that one that Matt Steffen does, the hover rig thing.
Really?
Yeah. I don't think, but either way, like, really, I need to catch a 7, because I live around enough where, like, I'm pretty sure there's, the St. Lawrence, there's 7s, Ontario, there's 7s. Like, I live around some really big fish. One of those things where I'm just waiting for a 7, and then I'll start to remember it again. But right now, I'm like not worrying about 6s, which is a great problem to have.
Yeah, dude. Well, that's like, where I'm at with the smallmouth thing is, my biggest is like a 592 or something on the St. Lawrence, but I haven't broke the 6 mark. And it's like, in Idaho, I went to another lake where I had 25 pounds in smallmouth, but none of them were over that 6-pound range. And so it's like, my goal is to break that 6 and then have a chance at a 7 or an 8 for sure is a legitimate thing. And so, gonna try that. The difference is, though, that I've noticed with a lot of these places is just the population it's just not like the Great Lakes, right? Or even a Champlain. There's just not those massive numbers of fish, but like, boy, there's some high quality fish.
Yeah. Yeah, it does seem like just out west, there's just generally speaking, like outside of like maybe Clear Lake,
Yeah, Clear Lake's
there's a lot of the lakes
chock
out there
full of
just
fish.
don't have tons of numbers.
Mhm.
I guess the Delta probably has
Yeah, the
pretty good
Delta is like a
numbers, except
Florida
the
man,
seals are eating them all,
right?
the sea
That is
lions. But yeah, it's a tough thing to fish places where the numbers are not incredibly high.
mhm.
Um, but I have a lot of faith that once you took me a long time to break 6, but
Yeah,
I have now broken it like a bunch.
yeah.
And I think that once you get a 6, you're going to catch more 6s.
There you
And then
go.
it's going to take a long it's probably going to take a long time to catch a 7 though.
Right,
Or maybe it
right.
won't. Maybe you'll go out to some special lake somewhere and just pop like an 8, you know.
And then not even just skip the 6s and
Just
7s, not
skip
even have
them.
to worry
Yeah.
about it.
I mean, I haven't caught a 9-pound largemouth. I've caught 8s. I've caught 7s.
There you go, and you got
It
a
can be
10.
skipped.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
can you can skip whole pounds. That's like the best
Yep.
coals in fishing too, is skipping pounds. Like, we're not dealing with ounces here. These are
Oh,
pounds.
yeah. Our last call on the river on like Sunday, not our last call, but one of our calls on the river, we called like a 1.7 for like a
Yeah,
3.3. We're like, yes, this
yes.
is gonna make the scale look good.
This is a big time changer. Yeah,
Yeah, it's huge.
that's awesome, man. Well, great. Well, Jody, I appreciate you taking the time out, man, and I know, you've got, a lot going on even in your off season and everything else, and getting ready for 2024. Is there anything else, you know, you want to do a shout out to, or anything for folks following along to things that you have going on personally?
Yeah. First of all, I'll shout out my social media. It's Jody Blanco, on Instagram and I guess Threads, and that's pretty much all that I really mess with.
Okay.
Um, but also, lakebomoseen.org is the or it's the website for an organization called the Lake Bomoseen Environmental Alliance, which is a
Okay.
group that uh, myself and some other folks have started uh, to take care of Lake Bomoseen, which is Vermont's largest inland lake. So we don't count Champlain in that.
Okay.
Um,
And how do you spell
and
that? Because bomb, like,
great question.
yeah.
uh, Bomoseen.
Bomoseen.
Yes.
Bomoseen. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Um,
I can put this in the
it's
show
our
notes too.
yeah, it's like an absolute gem of a lake. As far as like big fish, it's kind of a destination here in the Northeast, which
Okay.
I don't love, but it's also necessary that we publicize it to be able to defend it. Um, there, there was an application in play to use herbicide in the lake. We didn't want that. There's not currently one really in play, but it's something that we're just trying to make sure stays out of the picture forever because it's an incredible fishery that doesn't need to be messed with.
Yeah.
Um, and it's one of there's not a ton of circumstances that I've found where a movement against herbicide has been like really successful. And
Yeah.
we have a very diverse coalition. Like we have anglers, we have science teachers, we have, we have people from like sort of a variety of walks of life, which is great.
Yeah.
Um, and we've been really successful so far. We hope that we can continue to be, and also, with our new organization, do some really good things for the lake. So Lake Bomoseen Environmental Alliance, lakebomoseen.org gets you there. And because, we got the lake name.org. That seems like a pretty good URL.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
.com is a campground. But anyway, I would appreciate any support on that. It's $10 to become a member. We've got a Facebook page and Instagram if you want to throw that a like, but becoming a member would be super dope. We kept the membership really cheap because we want to appeal to not just people who own a house on the lake, but also people who use it a couple times a year, people who might never use it, people who just
Yeah.
want to help protect it. We're trying to have a nice broad base of support. And so I would thank any of your listeners who decide to sign up for that.
Yeah. Well, no, dude, that's awesome. And I think it's interesting as we, I don't know, I've noticed as I've gotten older is like paying more attention to, movements and things like this. And I feel like, um, you know, as much as you can play the card of, well, that will never happen in my neck of the woods or whatever. It's like these are really important things that if it's protecting our resource and our way of life and our culture around things. And it's like it's important to stand up for those situations, whether it's in your backyard or not, because there's not to say that that could happen in your backyard, and it would be great to have support from everyone around the world and the bass fishing community in general. So something that I've noticed as I've gotten older is like, and I'm a big hunter too, right? And like seeing different things around like public land access and things like that getting challenged and stuff. It's made me want to do more, and it's great with a media platform to be able to push some of that stuff. So certainly we'll put that in the show notes, and for anyone that can help out, $10 is not is I think that's a great little ask to help keep a place special.
Yeah, and I plugged it on BTL a little while ago, and there have been some people who signed up from like I don't even know where, do not
Yeah.
even know who they are, and like I'm thrilled about that. And you know, it's one of those things where, like you mentioned, like nobody expected, nobody in Vermont who likes bass fishing expected to have to defend Lake Bomoseen
Mhm.
because we all knew it was a really great lake, and based on the amount of people on it in the summertime, it sure seems like they're having plenty of fun recreating on it.
Right.
Uh, and property values were not going down. It's like one of those
Right.
things where it seemed all right.
Yeah.
And then lo and behold, we had to mobilize, and it turns out that like there were so many more people than just bass anglers that really helped out. So it's been great.
Awesome. Awesome, Jody. Well, man, we will end things with that. Folks, look in the show notes for all of those details. And Jody, man, appreciate you coming on and hope to follow you in 2024 fishing something. I'm sure there'll be some things to get out and chase. So hopefully you have a fruitful 2024, man, and enjoy fishing in the off season a little bit here.
All right. Well, thanks for having me on, man. And thanks for fishing us this year, and best of luck next year.
Awesome, man. Sounds great. We will catch you later.